Okay.
Okay, so I will live now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. Okay, so this evening we'll still continue on introduction to Framer. We have Ade here on the call. Ade is a Framer engineer or developer at the same time. I would just like to, that's more like a Framer designer slash developer. I would like to have that as both. So, Ade, over to you. If you have questions, you can drop them in the comment section or in the chat session, and would answer your questions after the class or during the class. Anyone works. So, Ade, the class is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Amaka, for having me. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone once again, wherever you're calling from. My name is Adebimpe. I am a product designer at FreeFlow and a product chief at Freema Dojo. So, where we intern people to intern designers, right, to let them become expert designers in Freema. So today we are going to be talking basically about how to get started using Framer, why is Framer important, and why you should choose Framer as your next big no-code tool for building a website. So very quickly, I'm just going to go ahead to share my screen and we start from there. So just a moment. All right. So, what is Framer? Right. Framer is a design tool that allows you to build and publish your dream site. They even want an AI that allows you to just think up uh, a site that you have in mind that you want to build, and then you can just type it in, and the AI will just do its magic. So, very quickly, um, let's look into why you should choose Framer. So Framer, like I said, is a no-code tool, and when you compare to other building website building sites such as Wix and the likes, Wix, Squarespace and the likes, Framer allows you to take your Figma designs, if you are very familiar with design, or with little or no knowledge, you can start learning how to use Framer in less than a week. I've seen many students, right, try to learn Framer within a week compared to like working with like something like say Webflow, right, that takes a couple of weeks to learn and master. You can do that in less than just a week, and that is why I always recommend Framer. Also, it allows this interesting collaboration between business owners or people hiring website designers and the designers, right? Also, Framer allows you to build once and sell to as many as possible. I've been able to benefit from um, earning um, a couple of dollars from selling my template website directly within Framer, and it took me less than a week to build. And what is interesting is most is that I was able to like host it and sell without even any marketing budget, like zero marketing budget, and it still sells till this very moment. Now, let's talk about the basis of learning Framer. So the first thing is we are going to look for how you can sign up and set up. But I'm already logged into my account, so but let me try and see whether I can log out. So I have like a couple of projects. I'm just going to sign out for now. Okay, so I'm just going to log in, type in framer.com again. So for people that are new to the site, right, they can go ahead to just click on sign up, and it's really easy to do. So it allows you to just continue with Google or with your email. And if you are doing with your email, you once you input your email, you'll be sent a verification code. However, if you are going with Google, right, you can simply just log in with your personal account, and you should be good. You should be able to get on board there. So first thing first, let's start with an AI tour, right? So we're going to start with like an AI tour. So we have like three steps where if you look at it, sorry, my bad. So let's just jump right into like the design. So I have like a couple of teams already I'm working with at the moment. I'm just going to use the first team. So what the team means is that it allows you to onboard as many teams as possible, and then you can work on very different projects so that it doesn't affect or you don't get disconnected like working on just only one sole project at a time. So I'm just going to skip this tutorial to jump right in. So I'm just going to skip all of this exit tutorial. All right. So when you open a new page, this is what you get, right? You have your property section, which is over here. Sorry, yeah, which is over here, and then you have your pages, your layers, and your assets. So your assets could include component styles and code. In the coming class, you will learn more about component styles and writing custom code with Framer. However, you don't necessarily need to write any code at all. Like it is very easy. If you only if you want to do something way much more advanced, that's when you'll be required to use custom code. But most of what you will need to build your next billion-dollar website, let me put it that way, you can do that within Framer. All right. So in terms of you adding like multiple web pages, if you go to like a standard Framer website, so I'm just going to go to like Framer pricing section, right? You can see that they have this bunch of pages here. So Framer, white Framer, templates, community resources, awards, feeds, sales, and so on, right? You can just do that by adding those pages here. So you can just name it. So I'm going to call it the pricing and so on and so forth, right? So I'm going to go back home and I'm just going to build my first website, and you too can do that as well. So as a designer at art, I can say I want just design a website for a senior product product designer looking to work at Google, right? Then I can click on start, and then I can click on start. Immediately I do that, what happens is that the AI takes over, and then it starts building out the website for me. As you can see, with little to no stress at all, I've been able to have a fully functional and progressive website.
Hello, Ade, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, your
Hello.
screen is static. We're currently seeing. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
We're currently seeing the home page of Framer. We're not seeing the generated website you use the Framer AI to create.
Oh, oh. Okay, I'm just noticing that.
Can you hear me, Ade? Okay, I said we can't see the. Oh, okay, all right. Okay. So, hello, guys. If you're on this corner while we're waiting for Ade to come back, please go ahead and drop a message in your room. Tag at everyone. Let everybody join this class as it's ongoing, so at least they know the class has started. Hi, Ade. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I had a bit of a technical glitch, so I think everything should be fine now. Um, so I'm
All
gonna
right.
go back to share my screen. All right. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. So when you log in for the first time, can everybody see my screen now? Can you see my screen, Amaka? Hello.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So you under your get started, you are going to see
Can
this
you hear
three
me? I
elements
said
here,
I can
right?
see your screen.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. So we have start with AI, paste from Figma or watch tutorial. So I'm just going to select start with AI. So let's say you want to build like a very quick website for something, right? You can do that within here. So for now, I'm just going to skip the tutorial, okay, and just jump right in. So when I select this, right, I have this blank canvas here. So yeah, I'm going to click on start with AI. So the button like a light in your face. Then I've seen some people ask this question: if what if I want to build a website without clicking on start with AI, right? All you just have to do is start creating an element. So if I once I click on like a template here, like so, and the template gets inserted, then it's going to go away. But I'm going to undo that right now. So I have this. Okay. So when I select start with AI, then I can go on to type design a website. So I said I want to build a website. So I'm looking to apply to Google, right? So I want to design a portfolio website for a senior product designer looking to design a website portfolio, design a portfolio website for looking to join the Google product team, the Google product team, right? And I click on start. Okay, immediately start generating your page. And if I zoom out a bit, you can see that it starts creating your website in both desktop, tablet, and phone, right? And this is very, very easy and straightforward. And you can see I have a fully functional um website. Okay. You can see I have my call to action, I have my footer, and if I select layers, right, I can see everything with the proper naming. My hero section, which is this part here, right? I have my text, right, which is the second just after this hero section, and then I have this section here that's also about like other things I do. I know it's not perfect, but this is what you can start with. Like even if you are just trying to like get creative and you still feel like you don't have any idea yet on where you want to start from. The function of this is to help you to quickly think about the ideas, as well as help you with a structural layout that you can publish right away. Interestingly, so most of the time when you have to rely on code, it takes a while before the developer can actually deploy to the internet. This you just have to um click on what publish. So if I select publish now, I'm going to be greeted with this little pop-up because I'm just published for the first time, and then I can select publish. So this happens when your internet is a bit slow. So you can see like this error here. So you mostly get that error when your internet is a bit slow. So I'm just gonna try and reload it again. So, so I'm going to go back to my dashboard. I just want to try and reload that site. Okay. So when I select publish again, so let's see whether it works now. All right. So now you can see your project has been successfully published. And then when you select open link, or you can come here over here and select any of these two and click on it, immediately it allows you to what? It gives you a functioning website with little or no stress at all. Like absolutely at all. You can see it. People can preview it on their mobiles, they can preview it on their tablets and on their laptops, large screen monitors, and so on. And everything is very, very responsive. So moving on, let's explore a little bit more about the workspace, right? So now I'm going to go ahead to delete these other items, right? Okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and create like a fresh page. So yeah, I already discussed how you can create a first page here. Okay, so whenever you want to start a website, right, and you are not really familiar with, like, especially when you're not really familiar with the tool, the fastest way, one of the fastest way of creating a website is Prima has actually enabled you with templates. So templates for sections that you can use right now to start building your website. So I'm just going to go ahead to try and recreate, say, let me see, just look for a random website here, just a simple landing page. Mm, just look for one image. Okay, so let's work with this. I'm just going to create like the hero section. Yes, so I and Framer allows you to copy image from the internet and paste in. Okay, so I'm trying to copy an image and paste in. Okay, so I have this image here, and then I want to recreate this exact website in a couple of minutes, right? So how do I do this? I'm just going to come to section. So first off, I can see that there's this section here called the navigation. So I can click on insert, right? And then I can come over to navigation, and I have a section that looks exactly like what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm just going to select this and drop it right into my canvas like this. Can you see it? Next up, I have this section here that has this lifestyle to this text and this button with people in the background. So I'm going to select this and select sections, right? Then I have this image here that represents just exactly what I have here. So I'm going to select that and bring this over here, like so. Then I can decide to upload a picture of choice. So just under here, just by selecting this, right, I can select image, okay, and then I can click on splash. All right, then I can select just any image, and I'm just going to use this like an example. All right, so we have this already. Okay, so next up, I have this other section here, right, that has a picture and a few items posted here already. I can go ahead to click on insert again, and then over under sections, right, I can scroll all the way till I find something that looks exactly like what I'm looking for. So I noticed it already at this section here, right? Which is this. All right. Then I can take this, or no, let me use this instead, which is called a feature page. So I can take this and paste it right over here. Interestingly, all I just need is a few text, and Framer AI can help you with creating amazing UX write-ups, user experience write-ups that's actually very clean. How do you do that? So if I select this and say I want to try and create like so I'm looking at this picture and I'm getting inspired like okay, long-lasting relationship and something like that. So I can come here and just type something like long-lasting relationship, okay, and then I can go ahead to click on this little star icon here, and then it's going to try and create um another text. So sometimes when you come up with a text and you're not really comfortable with that particular text, you can actually achieve that with this. I can go on here and type enduring connection forever and ever. Sorry, don't mind my back joke. So I can go ahead to select this, and then the AI does something for me, like something very simple and all. So now here again, I'm just going to add, I'm going to delete this particular section here, right? Then I can go ahead to add an image again directly from on Splash. Okay, so I can just type ignore empty spaces, empty spaces, right? So I'm not as if like it's not as if like I have like a particular goal of like website I want to build. I just want to tell you that I just want to show you how crazy you can get or how smart you can get with building on Framer. Then now this is for my desktop now. So I just want to add one more. So let me just add like a footer to it. So I'm going to click on insert again and just other sections, right? I can go ahead to add my footer. Mm. So under navigation, I have a footer here. So I want this dark one instead. So I'm just going to place it right in the canvas and it inserts just right in. I can go ahead to click on breakpoint and then I want to add for my tablet as well as the phone version. Okay. Now in my tablet, I notice that there's this breakage here. So what I can do is I can come here and take this one out, right? I can click on insert again, then go back to my sections and import this particular section back to where I want it. So it automatically stacks properly. So what you want to do is that when you want to start designing and you want to take advantage of Framer's template, it's important that you start by creating all of these three responsive views before you even get started at all. So I noticed that this is a bit cut off, right? In the other classes, you will learn more about different ways of how you can understand um, what the width is in different sizes from fixed, relative, fill, and fit content. But for the purpose of this class, I'm just going to majorly use really fill and fit content. So now fill is a little bit different from relative, right? But I don't want it to like confuse you. So but in this context, I'm just going to use fill. At the moment, I'm not going to touch relative. So fill, as the name implies, fill, it just fills up its entire parent container. The entire parent container being this one I just selected now. Okay, so I'm going to do select this one and do the same thing like so. Fill, yeah, because I don't want it to cut out. I also noticed that issue here, so I'm just going to set it to fill. Now, there's a way you could have actually done it from this particular section here, so that you don't have to redo it over and over again. So that means that this browser, right, is this particular view is the basic section that once you edit it, then every other one can be sorted. So how am I going to do that? I noticed that this one has this cutoff here, so I'm just going to set this width to fill, and I'm going to also set this one to fill. I want you to just pay attention to this mobile while I do this. So by selecting this, right, I can fix this one once instead of doing it manually one after the other. I can actually fix all my issues directly from one section. So I'm going to delete this other section, right? Then, yes. So we are good. So you can see very quickly, I've not even spent up to 20 minutes. I already have a full working page that could be my home page. Then I can go ahead to just now. Another interesting thing you can do with Framer is the way you copy. So, for example, I have this image. I have this. Instead of having to go and look for that image again, I could actually just select, right click, and then I can come over to copy, and then I want to copy the style. So over time, when you get used to it, you it's important that you memorize most of these shortcuts, right? And because I noticed that most of us might just be hearing about Framer for the first time, so I'm just trying to like go through the steps. So it makes you move really, really fast. So I'm going to click on right click and select copy. Then I'm going to come over to this image. You notice I'm not going to this order because I know that once I edit, my default view is going to populate for order. So I'm going to right click here and then I can select to paste like so. So paste it like so. So remember again, so let me just go back to this. So you're going to copy style and then make sure when you select this, you what? You have to paste this style. Now paste effect is going to come in a later class because there are different things you can copy and or like that. So now if by previewing this website, so I can go ahead now. Remember that we at the moment our website looks like this. So at the moment our website looks like this. Okay. Uh, Now I want to change how that looks. Okay, so first thing first is I can actually right click here, or you can select on this three dots to set this as my home page. All right, by doing that and selecting publish, right, I can immediately preview my new website in no time, like literally in no time. So I'm actually suffering like from bad network, but it's actually really faster than this. Okay, so I have my footer, right? I have my section and then I have my hero section. All right. So now let me preview it here. I don't know why the other screens are not showing. So you can see it here. And then when I try to reduce the size, all right. So sometimes you may not necessarily need to click on publish in order to see your changes. Okay, because the more advanced you get in Framer, you start noticing that there are some things you will do within this place that you will not be able to see exactly how it's going to look like. It's not going to be a one-on-one representation, especially when you start working with like advanced effects. But for now, whenever you want to preview how your website is actually going to look like or behave within a mobile device or a laptop or a desktop or a PC or a Mac, you have to literally select this. Now I'm using a large screen Mac. It's a 16 inches Mac. So when I select hide UI, it's actually more expanded. And then for people using like smaller screens, they could also see it from this point of view. So with just these three screens, I can be able to like create this once and then it is shared across multiple devices just from the single link. And this is what one of the reasons why Framer is one of the easiest and fastest tools you can start building with your website from today. Now, the next section that I want to talk about is a little bit on using assets. Now, if you recall, I have this particular item here. It has this kind of purple outline. This purple outline, whenever you see an item that is purple outline, is actually a component. Okay, and components are items that has variant. Okay, and the essence of components is that you can build once and reuse in many other places or many other pages. But now the problem usually comes in where you want to say, for example, you want to edit the navigation bar in for all of them. So that means that you have to start editing all the navigation bar in all the pages. So imagine you have a website that has over 60 pages or 70 pages. It's going to be a bunch of edit for you. But with the help of components now, it allows you to just edit once and you can go ahead to save it. You don't even need to save it because everything you do actually saves automatically. So once you edited it here, you can just go out of it and then it gets saved. Now, whenever you have your components made, they're actually going to be under this component section here. So you can see I have this nav bar, and then you can even do very and many interesting things with components, even way more much more complex stuff with building components. Okay, so now let's go over to understanding more about what layers are and um, what the property panel can really do for you. So please, I'm just going to indulge you for like the next 15 minutes, and I need you to like really pay attention because it can get very confusing very quickly. But it's a very simple tool to use if you pay attention to what I say and watch attentively on how I do it. Okay, so I don't want to this time around. I want to create another page. I want to create this thing from scratch without the help of Framer, right? So how can I create this? So I'm just going to create a different page again. Okay, I want to call it my own my own design. All right. So now, whenever you want to design in Framer, okay, you have your canvas. Notice that recall that I told you that you need to what create your breakpoint. Your breakpoint serves as the different other screen sizes that we may have. So by default, I always advise that Framer has already created three for us, and we should always have that opened like this. Okay. So now this, and notice that by default we have this color here, this fill color. You can always change the fill color at this point. Okay, so let me just change the color to white. All right, now when you want to create say this particular section element here, all right, when you want to create this particular section, I have my own working process, and that's what I'm going to use. The first thing is you need to create your layout. All right, and your layout now is very important. So you could have your layout as a frame, your layout as rows, as columns, or as a grid. In this case, but the most basic one of them all is a frame. Okay. Now, when you create this frame, so sorry, when you click on layout and select frame, okay, you notice that immediately the start AI button goes away, and then you have your cursor changes to a plus icon. So I can go ahead to just create this rectangle. All right, this rectangular frame, but now I'm going to select layers. All right, now notice that by default I have a color. Okay, and that can be found in the properties panel where you see the different kind of alignments that you have. So I have left align, center, right align, top align, center align again, bottom align, but let's just leave everything in the center for now. Top. Okay, uh now let me just put you on left align. Now, when many people are starting, the very first mistake I notice that a lot of people do is that when they start building their website, they notice that their website is always flushing to the left. So I'm going to just fill up this side like this. Their website is always flushing to the left. And the reason why your website is always flushing to the left is because Framer did not automatically add an element called a stack. So I know. And the stack can only be created when you add a plus to this to your desktop. So notice that I'm no longer selecting my frame, but what the canvas, that's this the desktop canvas. So I have to select this, and trust me, you are going to have to use it for any type of website you want to build, any type of website at all, whether it's simple ad or you are going to use it anytime, because what it allows you to do, that it allows you to center your website within um it allows you to center your website effectively. So let's say I go back again and then I remove this layout. All right, and I have this particular element here set to the left. All right, so by the time I preview it, can you see that I have this empty space here? Okay, so how to stop that is by what? Selecting your desktop and making sure that you select what layout, and by default you can see that you have a type here, and that type is called what? Stack. So you have stack and you also have what? Grid. Okay, I know it looks weird, but for now let's just stick with stack. In the coming class we will learn about grid, how to use grid, when to use grid, when not to use grid, when to use stack, and when not to use stack. But most of your website you will most likely use stack. Now that we figured that out, the next thing now is we want if you notice this page here, right, we notice that the picture covers the entire view, right, from all the way from the left to the right. So how do we do that? So what we can do is we can select this particular element, and you can see under width, right? I've talked about this phenomenon before, so I'm going to just set it to what? Few. I'm not going to talk about relative now. In the coming class, we'll talk about relative, because relative, or let me just talk about it like, I'll just brush on it a little bit. Relative is just a little bit different from few. Okay, so I'm just going to set it to few. All right. Now, this website, now if you look at this now, we have an height set to 600. So I'm just going to do that. So I notice that this is called fixed. And then I know some people are going to be asking that, okay, what is this position? What does it do? And all like that. We can only understand all of this in relation to when we have more items. So I'm about, for the purpose of this class, like I said, I'm only going to stick with relative. We are going to be learning about how to use absolute, when to use absolute, when not to use absolute, when to use fixed, when not to use fixed and sticky at a later class. Okay, so we are going to have what? Our fill size. All right. Now that we've set our fill size, let's go ahead to preview it. So you can see that when even when I hide my UI, I have what? The entire screen set to what? Color blue. So a quick shortcut for you to exit the preview is by pressing escape on your keyboard. So I'm going to change this back to what? 600. That's what I want. Then remember what we learned earlier, that if you want to copy a style, you can just literally right click, select copy and copy style. I can go back to my own, select this, right click and paste in what? Style. All right. Now notice that this picture looks brighter. How do I solve that problem? Now, please pay attention. In order for me to solve this problem, Framer allows you to create styles, and styles has a couple of functionalities. So you can literally select just any part in this place, or you can select plus if you don't trust it. And then you can go on to select filters. All right. And this time around, I just want to adjust the brightness. It's just too bright. So I'm going to select brightness. All right. And out of the box, I have this. So if you peer, then now if you want to, if you're no longer interested in using it, you can literally just right click, right? Because that's another thing about Freema, that there are sometimes that you will literally not see some things, especially within the property section. So you need to just right click on that particular element and then you can remove it. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that right now. All right. So after undoing it, after redoing it back to setting to 50%, I think we are well almost on our way. So we have this element here. So I'm just going to copy all of this, right? So that I don't have to be switching over and over, back and forth. So I'm going to paste it here like this. All right. So now I can go ahead to, for me to create my text, right? I can go ahead to just select text here, and I can click anywhere on my canvas. So I want to say enduring connection. Let me not see it now. So, but what you can do is, once you're done with your text, you can literally just click outside and then deselect, and then you can go ahead to select it. Then you can add what we call styles. All right. Now in styles, that's where you can add your H1, your H2, your H3, your H4, your H5, H6, and your paragraph, so that it's easy for search engines to crawl your website. So here is going to be our H1. So I'm just going to select create a new style. Right, you are going to understand this better in other class when we want to talk about the typography class and so on. So I'm just going to select the H1 because it's the first heading, is the first thing that the website is the search engine is supposed to see, or and also users are supposed to see, that should draw in our attention, okay, or that should draw in the user's attention. So I'm going to select heading 1, then I can click on edit. Okay, now why I use styles is because it allows me to add multiple styles for different breakpoints. So I'm going to select just add breakpoints, right? Because I want to create both for both large screen, medium screen, which is tablet, and then small screen, which is what? Phone. So I'm going to start with my large screen. Then I want to set my default color to white. Interestingly, you can also create styles for your colors. Okay, for the purpose of this class, Framer also allows you to create your website in both light mode and dark mode. I'm not going to talk about like creating light mode and dark mode in this case. I'll just stick to only light mode. So I'm just going to call it white. Okay, now I have this style. So now the essence of having styles again is also to reuse it as much time as you want, just like variables in Figma. So when I select this, I can go on to select my color. Sorry, I can go on to select edit. Then I have white set here. Okay. So now this text is actually very small. I want to go ahead to increase it a bit. Okay. Then if I want to make it bold, right, I can go on to select the weight and make it bold. Okay. Now I want to notice that in the course of creating this element, right, this particular item, it looks a bit washed off, right? But you call that when we select it and we click on our layers, we actually have this row section we are going to rename as hero. Okay, and then we are going to call it enduring connection. We have this enduring connection, but if you notice there is no opacity here. So why is it looking washed off? Why? Because our hero has a brightness, and that brightness is set to 50%. So what I can go ahead to do is I can actually right click and remove it. Now another way of tweaking this is I can go ahead to create another frame. Okay, then I can place the frame here, but notice that this frame is a stack, and by what stack means is that it allows you to stack elements both in a vertical direction. If you look, follow my mouse to the right, to the proper side, in a vertical direction or in an horizontal direction. Okay, so but I don't want it to stack. I want this one to cover. So what I can do is, and that's where we now use absolute position. So absolute position gives an element the ability to stay within a particular section without it being affected by whether it is in a grid or it is in a stack. So let me just demonstrate so it makes sense. So I'm going to select this and select absolute. Immediately, you can see that it is literally floating up and above this. Okay, then now I want to rename this as overlay, like this. Now, like I said, it's going to get complex very quickly. But you notice that in many design tools, we have something we call send to back, because I want to send this to the back so that I can use this one to cover all of this place, right? How can I do that? Now, in order for you to do send to backs, there's nothing like send to back, especially when you're designing like websites. Instead, browsers have a standard way of how elements are arranged in order of level, and that's they call it the Z index, right? So now that Z index now has a number of positions. You cannot do more than 10 positions. So I'm just going to set this position. Notice that this Z index is set to 1, right? I'm just going to set it to 0. Now I know you'll not be able to tell the difference, so let me just add a black color like this. Okay, now for this text, I'm going to add under styles, right? You can literally add your settings. I'm going to make it 1. So notice that is how you. So if you look, if you think about it like on a stack of cards, right? You are literally just taking the overlay and you're putting it at the back of the card of enduring connection, and I'm taking enduring connection and I'm taking it above the black card. So now I can set this one to works, right? Even for my height, few no longer works. Okay, so now for this width, I'm just going to set it to relative. Then I want going to make it just 100%. So I'm going to select it to relative. Then I want going to make it 100%. So I want it to cover the 100% of the appearance and 100 the of the parent. So notice that it's sticking to the top and it's not covering all. So what I can do to fix it is, you see this item here, this position, just click here, remove it, then just center it or align to the top with this particular section, and you should have something like this. Then I can go ahead to add an opacity, just an opacity. So 0.5 is just about right. Then I can right click and lock it, because as I'm editing, I don't want it to shake. So I can just right click and lock it in place. Okay, so we have enduring connection. Then we also have, so I'm just going to bring the other text in like this. And then if I want to create this button now, I can go ahead to select this, frame, I can literally just add the text get started. Okay. Then this frame, I'm just going to select what layout, and it gets stack you get this stack immediately added to it. So it automatically aligns to the center of this. So I can go ahead to just rename this as button. So that's how you can create buttons. Okay. Now notice that this particular element now doesn't have a Z index. That's why it's going behind the overlay. So I can go ahead to what add Z index and change this one to 1. But an easier way to, so that you don't have to add Z index to like all your elements, is you can literally just group all of them, select all of them, right click, and then add stack. Okay, so this is in your Z index, the parent container, which is this new stack now. So I'm just going to call it container, right? I can now go ahead to name it as, okay. So so I can just add my Z index and set this one to 1. Then every other element that has a Z index, I don't need it earlier. So I can right click for this one too and remove it. Okay. So now if you want to round up this button, you can just literally just select this little dot and round it up, or you can just manually input it here. Okay. And we have this. So when I preview it, I have set to select this again.
Hello, guys. Ade is having a bit of ineptly. So while we're there, please go ahead to let your friends know that the class is on. They can still join. And please go ahead to fill the attendance form. It's in the chat. Okay, he's back now. Hello, Ade.
Yes, thank you for having me. Okay, so my internet is just a bit of this evening too. Mm.
Okay, we can't see your screen, so you have to share your screen again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Hello, Ade. Yes,
Maka, can you see my
we
screen?
can see your screen now.
Oh, okay, okay. So yes. So we have this button here. I'm just going to reduce the IT bits. I'm not really a fancy. So you notice that these items here, they are very tiny. So we actually created a settings here before, which is under this textile. So I can go ahead to edit for both my tablet and my mobile. So for my mobile here, I'm going to do 40, and for my tablet, I think 50 is okay for me, or just 48. All right. So if I go ahead to just look at it from here, notice that this particular element is cut off as well as this. So how do we fix this? So, and that's where we now have to select this again, and then we have to set what? For this width, we have to change it to what? Fill container, and that solves our problem, except for this. So on your mobile, when working with mobile, you have to have different set of padding. Um, so when we talk about padding, right, we are just talking about like what is the space around the parent container. So if you look at this, at the moment we have padding of 60. For mobile, it's advisable that you can do between 16, 24, and 40, depending on the type of content that you have. But for the sake of this design, I'm just going to make it 24. Still on, we have this cutout, right? So what I can do is I can select this particular element and set it to what? So currently set to what? Fit content. That means it's just closing up itself. But once I set to fill container, I want you to also look at this grow and see what happens to it when I change to fill container. So when I select fill container, you get it moves, it shifts from here to this particular part, and then now every element is now left aligned. So how do we fix this? Now, Framer has made it such a way that you can actually left align, center align on a particular view and left align on another view instead of coming, because when you select this one and select edit and you set center align, what it does is that it actually center aligns for all. But for example, now let's say I want to left align for my mobile view, I still have to come here and select what? Left align. Okay, so it allows you to do these little interesting tweaks that makes your design look more appealing. Then some people might ask that, is it a must that we use styles? It is not absolutely necessary, but it is totally necessary to use styles. Why? Because it allows the browser to detect the hierarchy of information in your website. So I'll give you an example. With the way my process actually works is I mostly don't use styles at the very beginning, but when it's time for me to start doing to publish live to the public to use, I make sure that I go through each and every steps, do a UI audit, right? A typography audit, look for similarities amongst all, and then once I'm done with all of those, then I start adding all of those styles to update the entire website, because not adding that will reduce the speed of your it will reduce the crawlability of your website by search engines. Okay, because it's not just enough for you to build website, it's important that you build website that people can find and interact with. So that's why it's very important you add styles to your design. So you can see that in the course of me trying to explain how you can get this done, right, for this and this and this, I spent a while. Though mostly whenever, so the way my process works is I design on Figma. Once I see what I have on Figma, I just go ahead to insert different templates that Framer has designed already for me and start building on that. But it's just a way to show you that you can literally not rely on Framer templates to design your website. So for example, if you check my portfolio, right, all of this was built with Framer. So if I click on I'm not a robot, so I'm showing like these are like things you can do with Framer. So let me just break down how my website works. So I give example, this animation here, right, even with the over, is made with a custom component. If you pay attention to this particular element, you see a line, a particular line swiping on it, trying to a subtle way of like trying to draw in your attention. Is also made with what? Framer component. This style is what? Fixed to what? A text style. Okay. And then this particular element that you're seeing at the bottom here is a video. Okay. So it looks like an animation, but it's just a video. I literally just downloaded a free online video on YouTube, and then I changed the color inside Framer and I use it for my website. Okay. You can literally do stuff like this where you can showcase your portfolio in a more interesting way. So I don't know if people are familiar with Star Wars. So I actually got this inspiration to design my website like this from how Star Wars movie look like their intros, as well as when they are jumping from one particular point to another point, using trying to like jump through space. So that was like what inspired that little animation here. Even to this 3D interaction that you're seeing here, like as I'm scrolling, is actually changing the view to this one sticking, right? You know, I told you that it's sticky. We are still going to learn how to use sticky in the coming class, right? I'm just trying to like round up, like to show you like the possibilities of what you can do within Framer. Okay, then if also you can build website that you can sell. So for example, this website was built by me and Demi Tokpe, that works at Framer Dojo and the Novel brand, right? And we built this website in less than 2 weeks, I think a week, because we actually had to also verify that everything is in place. And if you look at it, like look at it, can you see, notice the software animation? All right, all of these things are built with Framer. So these are like the possibility of what you can do inside Framer, and this thing doesn't even take much time, like at all, at all. You can even go into build blog. I've chosen not to talk about blog, and then you can also um see different animation on how they scroll to view when you select a new page. These are the blogs look like, the pricing page, the contact us. All right. So these are things that you can do inside Framer. So if you literally go to like framer.com templates, right, and search for stream flow, right, so you can see this here, and we have like a couple of people that bought this template, and you can even get inspired by just looking at the templates to see what other possibilities you can have done in Framer. Okay, so that's the end of my class. I hope you were able to get one or two information. In the next class by other people, you are going to even get more interesting and juicy stuff. If you want to keep up with Framer with me, you can just literally just search for my name, Ademikwe Molasho, on YouTube, and then you can see some videos I posted about Framer. You can also join the Framer community at framer.com/community. Like, let me just type it here. Framer dot community. In Framer dot community, you can even get jobs. You see the latest, you get the latest announcements. You can even post problems that you might have, okay, and then people will be available to support you. Like this video you're seeing here now was something they just posted today, like literally today. So that's pretty much about it. So I'm ready to take questions now. Do you have any questions before I go off? Amaka, do you have any questions? Okay, so I saw Moira's question. Say, talking about not replying completely on Framer for templates. How about non-designers who aren't Figma experts? So as a non-designer who is not a Figma expert, it's not necessary you actually know Figma before you understand how Figma works. It's just like an added advantage, okay? But you can literally use the Figma templates like I've demonstrated, as well as use. So what I mean by the Figma templates is I'm not talking about like templates that were built by other designers. I'm talking about the templates within the Framer designer itself, right? You can just literally just drag and drop. Now, if you're not really familiar with that too, and you have like a little bit of struggle, just if like this video, if you just watch it again, you can actually like leverage on that particular um point. Also, um you can also use the Framer AI, right, to build your website, like literally to build your website. Okay, so I have Ade. Adegboye Opeyemi here says, what's the difference between relative and feel? So, like I said, the difference between relative and feel is when you have a couple of children components, right? I don't want to talk about it because of time, but I think I have to talk about it. So, but let me just talk about it first. When you use relative, and the way you can easily detect it is, so let's say you have a component, right? And then there is you have three bunch of text, okay? If you set the first text to 100%, what you are literally just saying is that you want it to fill up the entire parent without even considering the other two bunch of text. So let me just share my screen again to do like a quick demonstration so that let me just share my entire screen so it's faster. Okay, so now let me just use this particular section here. So I'm going to create like section 2, right? I'm going to create a frame. So I'm going to close this one up, and I have this one set to section, right? And this is actually how my process works. So I'll set this one to field, then I'll duplicate it and put it literally inside this one. Okay, so I'm just going to call it section 2. Then for this particular element inside here now, let me see. Then it's always advisable that once you start designing, you should set your desktop, like your desktop canvas from directly from here, should be set to what fits content. You don't need to touch for others because it will work for others. So I'm going to select this, okay? Then I have this other section here. So same thing, you can see why this one is floating out of view is because it's not embedded inside this parent yet. So I have to add this layout, okay? So it's there already, but let me just change the color a bit so you see the difference, okay? At the moment now, I'm going to change this from 1200 to fill. Then I'm going to set a maximum width. So what this will be talked about like in another class, a maximum of like 1000, right? So that we can see the difference, okay? Then for the parent again, I'm also going to set a padding of say 100, right? Then I want to set the height of the parent to fit content so that it's centered around, okay? I know some of this may look like very fast, but don't worry, in the next classes, they'll be broken down um easily. I just want to answer that question. So I'm just going to come to frame and just take, say, for example, this particular element here. Okay, so I have this section. So I just need one section. Okay, I'm going to paste it back in here. And then I'm going to set this to a fixed position, okay? And I'm going to duplicate it again. But note that it's stacking on it. Why? Because I've not added this layout. So once I add the layout, you can see everything gives way. So I want to change my direction to horizontal instead of vertical. Okay, so I have these two elements. Now what happens when I select, like I duplicate one more time? So notice that first thing first, they are all out of view. All right, so how do I force them to all of them, these three elements, to only be inside their parent? That is when we use fill. So it means that we want them to fill up but maintain the maximum width that will allow them to breathe within their parent, which is this one here called container. So I'm gonna call it. All right, so I'm going to select these three, and I'm just going to, so individually you can do it individually or just select it. So set it to fill content. All right, so I'll do that here. Okay, so we have this. So then for the height now, I just want to set fit content for the height. So it just fits the children. Now let's say I want only this one now, this particular one here now. I want it to fill up this entire section. All right, that is when I will now use percentage. Now if I set it to relative and I change it to 100%, excuse me, you see what I'm saying? It automatically pushes the other children out of view. It pushes the other children out of view. But now for me to calculate all of these things, I can just literally just set everything. So this way I can now use, if I want it to have the same exam width as others, I can set it to just by 3%. So this one by 3%, by 3%, this other one 33%. Now this way now gets confusing again. Is that if I should increase the space between this particular child and this one, right? But when you're increasing space within a component, it's actually going to affect everything. So let me try and increase the gap. So you can see this red icon here, or you can come to gap here, whichever one that you like. So this one like within the canvas. Can you see what happens again? it automatically pushes it out of view. Can you see it? So now I have to start thinking or calculating. Let me use 20% here. Let me use another 20% here. Let me use another 20% here, so that everything will stay in view. Then for all of these elements, right, I'll just set it to fill container. All right. So that is why you have to know when to use 100%. So and I'll give you an example of when to use 100% and when not. So I'm going to just go and group all of this again. Like just undo. Now undo. So one. Now we have this section here in our responsive view, and then I also want only one of them to stack and then the other two to come underneath. How will I make that possible? Now make sure that your IT, your container IT is set to fit. Then for your first row, I'll change it to what? 100%. So you can literally just type it and press enter. You have that. Okay. Now immediately what happens is that from year to year, right, it covers the entire section and you have this element on this space. Now that's why I say that it's going to get complex very quickly. So the next thing is that we notice that we don't want it to push it to the extreme end. Instead, we want it to go to the next line, right? And that's why Figma allows us to have another functionality called the wrap. So in that, we want it to wrap to the next line. So I'm going to click on, you can see now, wrap is set to no. I'm going to change it to yes. So that's wrong. I'm just selecting for the container itself. So I'm going to set the wrap to yes, right? It's usually under layout, so to yes. So what happens is that now I have my 100% here and I have this other element here. So that is how. So now if I change this one back to 1FR, look at what happens. So you can see now that there's a difference between when you are using 100% and there's a difference between when you are using 1FR. Okay. So that's pretty much it. And to make this one more responsive here again, I can just change the padding to 24, right? Then this time around, I don't even need to set a wrap actually. I just need to change my direction like this, and we have a fully responsive site very quickly. Okay. So you can see that even me with my level of experience and everything, I don't need to design from scratch. I'll literally just take their template and then tweak it to my own liking. So it makes my design move very, very fast and very quickly. So is there any other question? No, we cannot sharply create a drop down the hamburger menu, please. But let me show you what you can do with it. So somebody reached out to me like 2 days ago to create a drop down that has like an effect. So let me just show you what you can do with that. But if you want to learn how to do that, I'm actually I have a video on how to create a navigation from scratch. Then I'll be dropping a video on Monday on how to create a mega menu that is also a drop down. Then if you now want other features, right? So let me just open one Framer project that I helped somebody with yesterday. Let me see. So the website is actually a big website, so it's taking time to load. Like within my Framer file now, not like it's being published. Okay, so uh,
Okay. We can't see your
yeah,
screen though.
no, no, not yet, not yet. I'll share my screen now.
Okay.
Entire Mhm. Okay, so if you preview this now, yeah, you can see my screen now, right? So like I said, it's a big website. So um I did not design the website. That I only helped with the navigation, right? So you can see the navigation here, like the animations you can do with it. Okay. Okay, now the person was the one that actually created like the navigation for this particular section. Okay, but they were struggling with how they can make it available for mobile. Okay, and they had this idea of like making it look like Fiverr's kind of navigation drop down menu. So if you select this, right, this is what you can do with Framer. Then you can literally just click on this overlay to close it, select it again. You can see how everything animating. Then you can select this and you can have like also other overs, right? Then you can even select your industries and select this, and you have this. Okay, now how did I create this? Okay, it's a little bit complex, so I have to just literally just, okay, this is not it. Mobile now. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it looks like. All right, so we have like just two components. So we have this head one and this other component. Then we have this set of components again. All right, so this particular component has this, you can see. So that's why I say like it can get very, very advanced very quickly. So we have a master and then the different type of states within it, and then when you hover on it or when you close it or when you press it, how it's going to look like. Okay, like I showed you. So I hovered on it and I pressed it. So all of those elements were designed and prototype like little crumbs before we now start building them up into what you can see here. So for example now, this particular element, if I select the variant 2, it's going to open up. If I change it back to variant 1, it's going to close up. So even if you want to say like say something like default and not like that, you can do that here. So if I select under industry, if I select opened and select this, so under this one again, for me to actually have access to this, I have to literally double click because that's where I created it. So I created like little components, and then even for this particular component, it now takes you back to and takes you to another section again, which is this. That's why I had to literally create a folder for it because it's actually very large. Okay, but the most minute part of everything is actually this one here. Let me select the master again. Is this one here. So it is only with this one, this particular master component, that I was able to create this entire thing you are seeing here. So in other views, I was just changing like some of their layouts and how they look like. Okay, so that's pretty much it. But that's like what you can do. So you have to watch my video on Monday or Tuesday when I post it for to learn how to build something like that. So it's very, it can be very complex, like very complex, but it's not something I can do in one class. Like I have to start explaining one after the other, and you will still have to even watch the video like one or two or three times to even make sense of what I'm just saying. So like, it's very complex. That's why we cannot create something like that so easily. So I think that's all. No other questions. All right. Amaka, thank
That's
you so much.
all. That's the last question. And wow, it's actually very complex because I was learning alongside. Okay. So I think we'll still
Yeah.
get the hang of it. Start
Yes,
gradually, then build
absolutely.
up as we go on. So thank you so much.
Yes, because I said you get the hang of it
Okay.
because I've been doing I've been building with Freeman now for like over 9 months. So you can see now there's a lot of time and a lot of mistakes. I remember my first website. Let me show you my very first website on Framer. I literally first, because it didn't first make sense at first. So I had to like literally prototype everything in Figma. Okay. So and then I created this. My very first website with using Framer. Right. I created something like this. Okay. And I have a website, sorry, a plugin to check whether it's a Framer site so that you can know that most of the sites are built now have been Framer. I can see this is a Framer page. Okay. So and you can do like very interesting stuff with Framer. Like, and all of this now they are powered by components. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Components, simple animation,
Yes.
right? I did the website open to get like an award or something, but I didn't get it anyways. Uh Something very late. But this is like what you can build with Framer. And this was
But
when
this is
Framer
your
was actually,
example, whether you got the award or not.
yeah, like this was when Framer was like very buggy, like very buggy. Also, again, if you notice, if you pay attention to the background, it's also a video of a waving flag or something. I just watched one YouTube video to create something. So it's something that these are things that you can easily create with um Framer. All right. So that will be all for me. I think enough said, and very interesting to
Wow.
use Framer and yes, very interesting.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Ade. Thank you for this session. I believe they've learned a lot, and I believe a lot of people would have to go back and watch this video over and over to
Yes,
get more knowledge
and if you
about
want to
this.
get to that course,
Also,
you
you
can
can
definitely.
follow Ade on LinkedIn. I dropped his LinkedIn handle in the chat. You said?
That is anything. I was not talking already.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Sorry, I think my network is having a bit of a lag. So I Ade's LinkedIn handle, so you can go ahead and follow Ade on LinkedIn. Ade is a senior product designer. So his experience is Framer Canvas. That is all for tonight's class. I hope to see you next week. You probably get your assignments today alongside. So thank you once again, Ade. It was an interesting session, and I
Thank you.
learned a lot. Let me speak for myself. So thank you so much. All right, guys. Bye. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening. Bye.